Behind what I do as a teacher, there's methodology and there's philosophy. So let's start with philosophy for a minute. The first thing that I believe is that nothing I do as a teacher should ever get in the way of somebody else's creativity and artistic path. So my job, ethically and otherwise, is to take a singer, understand what arc they're on, understand their path, understand their desires and needs, and give them enough information for them to get from the point they're at right now to the point they desire. So that's really important, to be able to help them go from here to here, but no more. So my ethical and philosophical belief is that if I am giving them more than what they're asking for here, I am interrupting their artistic growth. And so it's very important that I weigh out how much information does that singer need to know or have to get from here to there. In student-centered learning, there is the difference between important for and important to. And so I have to weigh out what's important for them so that I can help them accomplish what's important to them. But if I let important for become more important or stronger than important to, then what I've done is interrupted their ability to be creative and be the full artist they want to be. So that's something that, and it's not an easy thing, you have to weigh that out as you're going along with an artist. Every step of the way you have to make sure what you're doing is facilitating their path, not creating it for them and not interrupting it for them. So on the methodology side, in technique, so I'm gonna remove the artistic side for a second and just talk about knowledge of technique and the method for which we take information and bring it to a student. There are 4 houses in development as far as I'm concerned. The first house is this house of understanding, and in this house you go in and you learn about how the voice works. You have the science and you have the physics and you have the acoustics and you have the stuff that shows up in Vocalize You that allows the absolute unbiased science drive the understanding of the voice. And so it's not subjective, it's not relying on somebody's desire to sound a certain way, it's not aesthetic, it's cut and dry. Then you leave that house and you go to the next house, and the next house is vocal technique, and you're working with a voice instructor. And what a voice instructor does then is they help build your neural system and your muscular system to function at its most efficient. And so what we take is the information from the first house, we build on that in the second house so that the singer becomes an efficient process machine for creating voice and sound, and anything they hear in their head they can duplicate. They can reach any note they want, they can last as long as they want, they can be a full efficient singer. But remember, a full efficient singer is not what matters, because what matters in the end is how a singer touches us. So that goes to the third house. The third house is voice coaching. And in the voice coach world, this is where people help that singer learn to connect with their audience, with their fan base. They need to say something in a way that drives the listener to understanding and connection. And many times what you learn in the third house actually will contradict what you learn in the second house. That's important. What happens in the third house is really where the rubber meets the road. This is what matters. And so we keep using the information from the second house and the first house to support the third house. Again, that's what matters. And then in the fourth house, this is the psychology of performing and the psychology of a singer. And what a singer goes through is different than any other creative being, artistic medium, or anyone who ventures into, whether it's fine arts or acting or anything else. Singing's different. And it's different than playing an instrument. So if you notice, the reason that we're drawn to singers is because they have an emotional connection in what happens with their voice. So some of my favorite singers over the years would probably be the least technically perfect singers, or if you want to call it correct singing. And yet, to me, that is exactly what correct singing is. They're very connected. So how do we maintain that connection on the stage? Because again, what we go through as singers is very emotional and psychological. I have seen amazing, huge artists with big careers have very, very, very difficult days singing because what happens emotionally through being famous and trying to maintain a career can affect the voice. So there is a psychology house. House number 4 is the psychology, and finding someone or a group of someones that can support the emotional state, the psychological state of the singer. So everything that the singers learned in house 3, 2, and 1 can show up on the stage or in the studio on an ongoing basis. And of course we're human, so that's going to go up and down. But having that 4th house is key to maintaining the full picture. And then all of this combined leads us to a path of an effective, efficient singing career. Well, whatever you decide to do with your voice or whatever you decide to turn it into, that's where the efficiency comes in. Well, each of those houses is important to maintaining a full picture of the voice. And so the methodology for me is to help a singer. When I meet with them is to find out which house they need to spend time in, what work needs to be done, to move them through all those houses and on to accomplishing their goals. And again, finding out what their goals is the number one thing. My job is to understand where they are, where they want to go, and fit the information in through the methodology and the philosophy.